Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mobility Tuesday. I'm filming this a little bit beforehand. So for those of you watching the recording, I miss you live, but I hope you're enjoying this recording as we go through some movements. Today, we're going to be focusing on some more joint articulation. So I would suggest we're going to be spending most of the time on the ground. So make sure you have a mat. If you have like some soft pants too, we will be spending some time on our knees. So that will just help support some of those movements so it doesn't feel too rough there. So I've got my mat here. We'll start on the ground there. And just like last week, I'm just going to encourage you all, if you'd like to put on your own music. I know that last time when, or the last few weeks when I have been playing music, it sounds a little muffled with the movements, especially when I'm on the ground and my hair is kind of floating around. So throw on some nice relaxing music or whatever you'd like, and we'll get started. So let's come on down to the ground. I'm just going to angle my camera here, and we'll start just on our bum, cross-legged. We're going to start with the top and then make our way down. So nice tall position, nice long spine. We're going to start off with our neck. So we're going to start by tucking our chin down. We'll then come back, looking up to the ceiling, coming back to center. We're going to go side to side, okay? So let's try that 2 more times, and then we're going to link all of those movements together. So just front, back, side to side. Good. One more time. Up. And then side to side. Very good. All right, let's try it all together. We're going to go into some neck circles here. So all of those movements that we saw, once you come around, we're going to reverse that way. So we'll just spend some time here. And like I always mention, if you feel some snap, crackle, pops, that's totally normal. If you do experience any pain, just shorten that range of motion as you need. Okay, we want to honor our body, but challenge it with some of these movements. We want to keep that neck safe and loosening that up. I know for me, sitting at a desk a lot of the day, my neck can get quite stiff. And I actually slept on it pretty weird a couple of nights ago. So this feels really excellent. Front of the neck, side of the neck, into the back. Let's try one more. Big circle all the way around, and we will reset. Good. I always feel a little snap, crackle, pops in there for sure. Okay, next up, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on our spine. So we're going to do a little bit more of our thoracic circles. Okay, so what we're going to do is focus on your sternum here, just kind of like our neck. We're going to bring it up, on the side. We're going to come up, lifting that chest. We're going to round, bringing those shoulders forward. And then we're going to go side to side. Okay, so I'll turn around to the front. Let's try that 3 times together. And then just like our neck, we'll bring it all into motion. So up, lifting that sternum, rounding that back, coming side to side. One more time, nice and structured here. Front, into the back, and going side to side. One more here. Good. And then we're going to bring it all into motion. So this is almost like we're making a wave with our body. Feels like we're dancing a bit. You should feel this down your spine, like I mentioned. You might feel it into your hip too. I find that my sides are quite tight. So when I do any shifting, I definitely feel it right into that hip bone. So again, take it where it needs. We're just trying to keep it fluid. Let's try 2 more circles this way, and then we're going to reverse it. And it might feel a little stiff and structured. Let's try the other way. As you get into it and kind of go through those circles, you can keep it a little bit more fluid. Depends on maybe our dancing abilities a bit. Good. Keeping it fluid. Good. Perfect. All right, hopefully that feels a little bit more loose. Next up, I'm just going to go onto my knees here, still sitting back on my heels. We're going to focus on our shoulders. So we're going to do up, back, down, and forward. So let's try again, practicing that motion. So up, down, back, forward. 2 more times. Down, back, forward. Last one. Down, back, forward. Now we're going to bring it all into motion. So up, down. And then we'll reverse it after we do a few more of these. Focus here, and when we come back, like almost like you're bringing your shoulder blades together, right? We want to really focus on how our body moves and bring some more awareness to that motion, keeping it nice and fluid. Good. Let's try reversing it the other way now. So we're going to come up and over and bringing it back around. Feeling the stretch into the front of the chest, into our upper back there, our traps, opening up those shoulders. All right, shake it out. Okay, we're gonna do one more thing and then we're gonna come down onto our stomach here. So stay seated. We're gonna have one palm up and one palm down, okay? And what we're gonna do here is just focus on rotating. So we're switching the palms from up and down, twisting there. You might again feel a little snap, crackle, pop in the shoulders. A little bit of that rotation into that joint. There we go, I got a nice pop there. Good. Nice and fluid. Good. All right, shake that out. You might feel holding our arms up. Our shoulders start to get a little bit tender there. All right, let's come down onto our stomach. We're going to be focusing on what's called a shoulder dislocate. Okay, so you could do this with a band or a rod. I'm going to do it without. Actually, got to slide down. I got limited room here, so I'm going to scooch all the way down. So what we're going to do here is extend our hands over our head, and we're going to come up and all the way around. Okay. So just getting those big circles in. Again, you can grab a rod if you'd like for some support and stability with that movement. And just if you do decide to do that, the closer you hold it in, the more challenging it's going to be to get that full range. Okay. And then if we keep it wider, it'll be a little bit easier to get that full range. We're going to come around and back. You can kind of tell your flexibility, or your range, I should say, in your shoulders by maybe how close. If you find you can keep your arms really close and come all the way around, that shows a really, really excellent range of motion there. You might, if you're finding it a little wider, that's okay too, right? You might just be a little bit tight, and that's good information that we're collecting on our bodies here. As we keep that chest supported as we do this, and we're just focusing on that shoulder joint and loosening that range. Good. Let's try 2 more. There's one, and our last one here. Coming back. Good. All right, let's release that a bit before we go into our lats. So what we're going to do here is just keeping one palm down on the ground and your arm at 90 degrees. We're just going to open up and stretch out that chest. So you're going to take that other leg and kind of bring it out. It's also called our scorpion. Oh, my hamstring's cramping there. Oh, I just did legs yesterday in spin class. So, oh, okay, good. So we're just going to hold that there. Okay, you probably feel your hip and your lower back as well. This is a rotation movement too, and we're opening up that hip. But let's focus on keeping that arm at 90 degrees and stretching out that chest. You can always take it a little longer as well, and that might help ease you into that motion. Good. And we're just using the other hand to help support. Good. And coming back. Ooh, that feels like a nice release into our pec, to our shoulder. Let's try the other side. So just like we did there, I'm a little bit tight for room here, my friends. Coming out. So again, I'm just supporting. Oh, I definitely notice a difference. On this side feels a lot tighter, especially in my hip too. So it's a nice little hip opener, getting a little bit of that rotation into our QL muscle, which attaches in our back and into our core as well. Good, opening that up. All right, good. Okay, we can come up for a second and just shake that out. We are going to be staying down on that prone position. So our tummy is going to be on the ground. So what we're going to do, we seen it a couple weeks ago with our arms elevated onto the bench. But what we're going to do is same thing as we did with our shoulder dislocates, but this time we're going to bring our elbows and dig those into the ground. Okay, you can always have a rod as well too for this. We're just going to stretch out the lats. Okay, so I'll give you a couple options because you might not feel it as much depending on how tight your lats are there. So then you can kind of play around by pulling those hands, those palms in towards your head while keeping your elbows extended overhead. Okay, and if you're not feeling it that, you might feel it there, and that's great. That might be a really good stretch. Or you can come down or come up with your bum in the air and our knees on the ground and do the same thing. So with our head and our chest trying to press into the ground, and you might feel a lot deeper stretch there. I feel this a lot more there too, and just again trying to push my chest as close as I can to the ground. And the other tip too, while you're holding that, is if you want to, like you might notice your hands want to come together. If you bring them out just a little bit more, as you do that, you're also getting a little bit of that external rotation into the shoulders as well. So you can play around and add some of that shoulder in there. I'm going to come back in, holding that. Oh yeah, that's harder to get those hands a little further apart. All right, come back when that feels good. Shake it out. Okay, good stuff. All right, next up, we're going to be doing a Hindu push-up. Got my little notes there. I got to keep checking. A Hindu push-up. So basically, it looks like a downward dog into a cobra. We're just going to keep it fluid and dynamic. So what we're going to do is come up, and we can even just start by pedaling our heels out, warming up the hamstrings. Okay, we spent a lot of time with our upper body. Okay, so pedaling those out. Our hips are in the air. We want to try to keep that nice long spine. Our head coming in between our arms there. Okay, once that's good, we're going to hold that downward dog position. What we're going to do is try to scoop, bring our elbows down and up into that. Okay, so see how I'm keeping my legs hovering. You can bring them down as well. Okay, or if you'd like a little bit of a challenge, we're pushing up in the air. We're coming down, folding at the elbows, and then just kind of diving up, getting a release into our lower back as well. You also feel your core stretch, and then pushing that back up, diving in, coming up, and then pushing the hips back up into the air. Let's try 5 more here. So go at your own pace, diving, scooping, coming up, and push those hips up. There's 1 for me. Again, make sure we're breathing with this motion. Take it as you need. This is your body, your mobility session. And last one here for me. Good. Whew, nice work. All right, let's go into a little stretch for our lats there and just releasing some pressure in that spine. So we're going to take our feet together. Our knees are going to be a little bit wider. We're just going to come into that child's pose. So you can support your head, your forehead onto the mat or the ground. And we're just sinking those hips back, keeping a nice long spine. You might feel a little decompression in that lower back doing this. And our hands are just extended overhead. I'm just going to hold that here. Good. And then from here, we're just going to walk our left arm to our right side so we get a lot deeper stretch into that lat. You might also feel a stretch into that hip. Good. Walking it to center. We'll just take it to the other side. Right arm to our left. Getting that nice release all down our lat, which is the side of our back there. Oh, that feels nice. Good. Take it out. Okay. Tabletop position. We're going to do some thoracic rotations or T-spine rotations. So down our mid back there. So tabletop position, hands underneath our shoulders and our knees underneath our hips. We're going to focus on one side here. So I'm going to start with my left to show you, putting my hand at my temple and then rotating out. We've seen a lot of these rotations in different ways throughout the week, right? Especially, again, if we're sitting a lot, it's really important that we focus on that thoracic mobility. Got 5 here. Let's try 5 more. Try to look to where we're aiming to, right? So I'm looking at my elbow. It'll help to get a little bit more of a rotation into this movement. Oh, that feels so good. I just heard a pop down the back. All right, let's switch to the other side once you've done 10 there. Last one. Good. All right. So hopefully by now our shoulders are feeling a little looser, our back, our spine, our neck from the beginning there too. A little bit of our core, we stretched and lifted up in that cobra, and a little bit of our hamstrings. Okay, next up, I've got a little bit of a tricky move here. What I would suggest, because we're going to be holding a squat and doing some internal and external rotation, is we are going to be starting in that deep squat position, okay? So if you're finding it's hard to get down here, you could always do this from like a block or a pillow. I'm just going to grab my block to show you. If you've got a yoga block or something, at least to elevate those hips a bit, just for supporting this movement, okay? Because we're going to get into that squat position. So you can see here, I'm like sitting on the block, right? If that adds a little bit of support, you can have like a low step or, you know, like a pillow, like I mentioned too, but we're going to hold that. And we're going to go into what's called a figure 4. So starting off holding this position, I'm just going to show you here and feel free to jump in when you're ready. We are going to use our hands to support as we move into that. So what we're going to do is drop to one side. We're going to look to that direction where our shin is, that front shin that we're moving towards. And then we're going to use those hands to get back up into that squat position and dropping down to the other side. Okay, if you want to get really fancy, you could try no hands. That's going to be a little bit more challenging, but coming up into that squat position and dropping down to that figure 4. Okay, All right, let's try it together now. So we're going to keep it fluid. And we are going to spend some time here because we're going to do something a little different with it after. Okay, so again, rotating. So we're moving our hips in all different rotations, which is really awesome. So this should feel really good on the hips. Might be a little bit challenging. You might feel your glutes are starting to burn a bit, your quads. And we want to finish and make sure we're sitting up nice and tall there. Good, coming up and down. Even practice, I'm going to try one. Oh, no, I use my hand. Try no hands. That's hard. Good. Let's try one more on each side. One here. And we got to go back. Woo. And back down. Good. All right, from here, we're going to stay into that one side of that figure four. Don't worry, we'll get the other side. This is where you're going to want to make sure you have some mat or some cushion. Okay, so we're going to start in that figure four position, and we're going to work a little bit on strengthening the glutes here. Okay, so again, you can support, you can hold on here. We're going to come up into that squat position. So we really want to extend the hips. So we're sitting back, okay? We're coming up. You're going to feel a little stretch into that front hip too, but we're also activating the glutes, right? Remember what we talked about last week is when we strengthen that antagonist muscle group from the area that's tight, we can improve our range and our flexibility and our mobility. Good. Okay, let's try 5 more here. 5. And 1 more. Woo! It is toasty. My glutes are burning. All right, let's try the other side. So getting into that figure 4 position. We'll try 10 on the other side. This is good to tell because I can almost feel a little like, you know, we're centered, but you can feel one side working a little bit more. And again, you can hold on, right? Like, don't feel like you have to, like we can support it. Should have showed it on the other side. You can support that movement by holding on to something, right? 4 more. And last one. Woo, up we go. Good. All right. Nice work. Okay. Feel a little bit looser in the hips there. Feel glutes a little activated. So we're gonna go into stretching a little bit more into our groin, in our thigh there. Okay, so we're gonna go into a goalie stretch. Now this one's a little bit of a deep, more of an aggressive stretch. So I would say start small. You can always build into this one. Okay, but we're going to start off just by warming up that goalie stretch by stretching one leg at a time. So we're going to have one knee planted, okay, and it's going to be in line, right? So it's not coming out to the side. We want it facing the same direction. We're going to keep that opposite foot planted. So we don't want to be like this. We want to keep it planted so you can move it closer or move it further away. Okay, and we're just going to move forward and backward into this, loosening it up. If you want, you can get a little closer to the ground. That's going to help get a deeper stretch. Well, you might be okay here. Okay, you might want to come down. Again, this is your body, your class. You decide what feels good for you, what's a challenge for you. And you can always start small and gradually increase the intensity. Good. Kind of spend some time anywhere that's sticky. You want to hold this one, breathing. Don't forget that breath, right? We always want to match that movement with our breathing. Good. could take it in if that feels okay there. And we'll come out and try the other side. So again, foot flat on the ground. And we're just starting by rocking back and forth. And we want to keep a nice neutral spine. So as you can see, as I'm doing this, I'm keeping that spine neutral. So I'm not rounding, right? Come back here, rocking back and forth. And I'm just going to hold this one for a moment here. That feels good. Breathe. Okay, walk that foot back in. Should feel a little bit more of a stretch on the inside, like I mentioned. Okay, now we're going to get a little deeper into this. So we're going to focus on that goalie stretch. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a side view. We want to make sure that when we do this, our knees are going to come wider. Make sure this is where you're going to want to have a mat. It's a little harder on my knees. We want our toes facing out. Okay, so our feet are flat on the ground, and we're just going to find that. So again, this might feel okay just right here. Okay, if you want, you can move back those hips. Again, it's a little bit more of an aggressive stretch. You can make it less intense by coming up, or you can come a little deeper, like from my forearms, like I showed you, and we'll just rock back and forth, and we're just going to hold it. Really a great stretch for our hips. We got some external rotation here with our legs as well. So external rotation in the hips. So just rocking back and forth, and let's hold. We're going to try 30 seconds here. Breathe. Keeping that nice neutral spine, like always. Trying to get a little deeper of a stretch into that hip. Good. Okay, let's walk the hands up and then just slowly bring one side in at a time. Woo! So while that feels a little bit looser, let's try some hip circles just to ease out of that one. Good. All right. I know that, well, that feels way better. Good. All right. Now we're going to come up to the top. So on your feet here, I'm going to angle my camera up a bit. There we go. Okay. So next up, we're going to be doing some good morning or good afternoon, whenever you're watching this. But these are also known as the good mornings, okay? So our feet are going to be a little bit narrow. We're going to have a slight bend. So similar to our RDLs, our single leg RDLs we did last week. We're going to keep both feet planted, and we're just going to push that bum back. So we did these seated actually last week. So let's try 15 reps of these. Okay, so neutral spine, push the bum back, okay? As soon as you can't push the bum back anymore and you start folding, that's where we want to stop. We want to just focus on that hinge from the hips and keeping that chin tucked. So again, our head neutral from our tailbone all the way to the top. Feel the stretch in the back of the legs, our hamstrings. We're feeling the glutes activate as we pick ourselves back up. You can also keep your hands as a guide here, just sliding down your thighs, slight bend in the knees. Five more. And if you've got more range than I do, feel free. I'm very tight in my hamstrings, so this is good for me. If I try to go down anymore, I start using my upper back. So it's not something that we want to focus on there. Just our lower half. Good. Okay, that feels good. We're just going to go into a half fold now and just really stretch out those hamstrings. So find that position, and we're just going to fold forward. If you want, you can use that block or a chair to help. Okay, so put your hands on your shins, whatever feels good. And we're just going to move like side to side here. Okay, play around with those hips. Find the spots that feel tight in those hamstrings, our hammies, the back of the legs. Just hang. Look side to side. I feel a little differently when I shift. Okay, now let's get a little bit of rotation. We're going to take our left hand and bring it to our opposite leg. Just hang there. Walk it to the opposite side here. You can play around with the stance too. Find the wider it is, you get a little bit deeper of a stretch. Good. All right, slowly roll yourself back up. Woo, my hamstrings feel a little looser now. Good. Okay, just checking the time here. Good, we're making good time. Okay, we're gonna try our elephant walk. We haven't seen this in a few weeks. I think we did at the beginning. What we're gonna do is, okay, find that kind of like tabletop position. Our hands just above our knees, okay? And we're just gonna take one leg, push that knee back, straighten it, and bend the other. This is our elephant walk. Almost looks like the Beyonce single lady dance. So we're just gonna walk with this, spend some time. Get that nice straight leg as we push that bum back. Shifting to one side. You can even hold it a bit if you'd like. Really kind of sinking into that hip bone. Good. Good. All right, shake it out. Try some ankle rolls actually before we come down. We're going to come back down to the ground in there in a second, but let's just try a little release into those ankles. You can start off going one way, and then we're going to reverse it, going the opposite way. And snap, crackle, pop. Ooh, good, shift it out. Other side. Starting again with those small circles. Gradually making it a little bit bigger. Good, and let's reverse it. Right. I think next week what we'll do is we'll focus a little bit more on some hip stuff. Thinking out loud, everyone. Good. All right, shake it out. All right, let's come back down to the ground. I'm just going to angle my camera here. We're going to start on our bum. Okay. All right, so we're sitting on our bum here. What we're going to do is bring our feet together with our little butterfly. So you can start warming up. We're going to stretch the inner thighs again here too. Make sure we want to stay lifted. So again, we're not rounding into this. Lifted, you're going to feel a lot deeper stretch that way into our hips and into our inner thighs. So lifting up, you can kind of wiggle those knees if you want to bounce them, take it out, or you can put some pressure and on those knees just to push them down. You can also do this sitting on a block if you're finding that like your back starts to round, so you can elevate those hips and do that same thing. Okay. I'm going to try to get those knees as close as we can to the ground. A good strengthening exercise, if you like this one too, to improve this range, is if you focus on putting your hands in, like pushing up into those hands, like you want to force those knees up, right? You can go 10 seconds, pushing, 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 and then release, right? And then just holding that stretch. And you get a little bit more range, and then you can try again for 10 seconds, pushing down. I'm just going to use my forearms here, pushing down, and you want to push those knees against those forearms. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And release. Opens up a little bit more. Floating those legs away. If you want to again, try that again. One more time, pushing against those forearms or those hands for 10 seconds. Push, push, push. And then after that 10 seconds, big deep breath in. Let's see if you can get a little more. Good. All right, I'll take that block away. And we're going to just finish with some 90-90s here to open up those glutes. So back leg at 90 degrees, front leg at 90 degrees. There's really no rules for this one here. We can either hold it, we're already warm, we've done quite a bit of stretching, or you can keep it fluid if you want to scoop around and shift with it. I'm just going to hold mine here. Okay, you can even extend out that back leg, and that's more of that pigeon pose, right? So you'll get a little bit deeper into that hip opener. And we're just folding over that shin, right? Good. Holding this for 30 seconds, and then we'll do the other side. Good, scooping it around and folding over. Again, you can keep it fluid if you like, or if you want to just hold that static stretch. Ooh, this one's a little tighter for me. Good, we'll ease out of that. All right, so sitting back on our heels. Let's add a little bit of rotation. So taking one hand to our opposite leg, using that back leg to support. And switching. Let's take a big deep breath in, reach, and let it go. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching the recording. Hopefully I'll see you live the following week. But otherwise, stay beautiful, stay wonderful, and we'll see you around. Bye, everyone.